Just to set the ball rolling in the morning, and it introduced the policy consultation and how it was conceived. We had, and many of the people in the room here who were participants in that, discussion and workshop on developing socio-medical tools for early detection of acute malnutrition for effective administrative action. That was in May 2 years ago, 2010. That was organized by the Center of Social Medicine Community Health at JNU, the Center for Equity Studies, the Supreme Court Commissioner's Office, and the South Asian Dialogues of Ecological Democracy of the CSDS. This occasion is again in collaboration with all these organizations, and in addition, Oxfam, in fact, this time contacted us, the Office of the Consultant on Food Justice, and Viraj and Kumran are to thank for our getting together this time at this point. There is also the Public Health Resource Network who are involved in this collaboration. Why this tracking hunger and malnutrition for food and nutrition security at this point? Most people in the room know the whole debate that is on, and the whole concern of policymakers with this issue, the public debate, the Right to Food campaign, the Supreme Court judgment, which and the office which has been spearheading a lot of the monitoring of programs related to food in the country. Despite all of that, all the civil society action, the movement groups, campaign, the National Advisory Council and its efforts in developing the bill, and the bill which is now placed in Parliament and so on, there seems to be a lot of contentious issues, both in terms of the magnitude of the problem, the dimensions of the problem, how to view the nature of the problem, the determinants, and much more on then what are the kind of strategies and efforts that need to be made. And all of these are backed by a history of the way planned development has happened since independence, as well as by using arguments which nutrition science and public health nutrition seem to be providing for both sides of the debate. And maybe more than one side of the debate really that is there. If we just briefly go into what the planned development in terms of improving nutrition and nutritional status of people in the country has been from independence, and one looks at the 5-year plans, one sees a very clear movement of starting with the first and second plans, viewing improving agriculture as the way to deal with nutritional problems. We move by the third plan to looking at saying we need supplementary feeding, we need education of mothers for nutrition, so it's knowledge of mothers which is the problem. We maybe need to promote kitchen gardens and all of that. And agriculture becomes more of an economic activity. And that shift continues down the line to the point where instead of basic food and staples, micronutrients start being viewed as the major problem of malnutrition in the country, and something called hidden hunger in that view. We move to overnutrition becoming an issue, and if we look at the 5th and 6th plans is where we start looking at ICDS and so on. That's when Green Revolution comes and changes the nature of agriculture completely. And therefore the link between agriculture, food production systems, and the local ecology and diets seems to somewhere be taking a break. Green Revolution completely breaks that by production happening, being promoted in certain parts of the country, and being distributed to the rest of the country as the vision for how nutrition will be addressed. The public distribution system, minimum needs program, ICDS, all of this clearly move us into supplementary feeding and provision of subsidized food as the answer. Where this food comes from, by the Green Revolution vision, it was to come from farmers in certain parts of the country. But gradually we now move to a stage where that logical step further has gone on, and now the break between agriculture, people's own agency in producing and procuring food, and the state's role in that has moved to saying now we can actually do away with looking at agriculture as PDS being support to farmers and agriculture, we can now move to cash transfers and thereby completely break the link between production and procurement and then distribution of food. This, of course, has happened with the 90s and we moved from welfare to a market-led state and planning. And this, if we look at how it's underlain by nutrition science and public health nutrition. It is nutritionists, it is pediatricians, it is public health people who envisage micronutrient supplies as the answer today. They do not look at the issue of loss of diversity of foods in diets, for example, as the issue. They move by green revolution, moving even the grains to 2 grains instead of the multitude of grains that were used across the country, to a decrease in access to the naturally available foods and the production of the other foods, and then access to people who are actually producing them. So this move is what has brought about a break in the way the policies are now addressing food entitlements on one hand and agriculture on the other, as 2 completely dichotomized things. And in addressing that, people who are working on the ground, civil society groups, are also getting caught in this bind, because you see the gravity of the situation in terms of malnutrition, hunger, lack of food, and starvation deaths. And therefore the prime issue becomes firefighting that to ensure that the state at least acknowledges its responsibility of dealing with hunger and ensuring that at least the poor, the most vulnerable, children, pregnant women get their entitlements. And those are codified into a legal instrument. That's the Food Security Bill. On the other hand, are people who are looking at agriculture as an area which is losing out, where the farmer's livelihood and work is not to be valued any longer as a society. And the devalue of that is obviously, we're seeing it whether it's farmer suicides or people moving out of agriculture completely and so on. So these become 2 different sets of civil society action and activities. Looking at it from a holistic public health perspective, we in the center would see it as something which has to be looked at as a continuum. As a whole, this could be seen maybe as 2 ends of the continuum, where agriculture and food production provides food, provides the work and the livelihoods which allow people to access the food on one hand. On the other, it also creates the kind of work patterns, whether for women, for mothers, and therefore the impact on childcare and nutrition and so on, as a set of issues. But this is also what therefore very clearly links to access to food and the lack of access to food in the process. Now, we'd like to, that is why this 2 days got structured, where it looked at this whole spectrum. It does mean that the spectrum is therefore going to be foregrounded by some issues which are very pertinent at this point of time, are very much part of the policy discussions, but may not be able to go into the depth of each one of them. What we're trying to look at is the linkages and how the linkages are getting missed. What the process from the first plan up to now the 12th plan has done is, 1, completely medicalized nutrition as an issue. 2, it has completely removed people's agency in any form, in food gathering, in food production, in its access and so on. And 3rd, it has centralized these and brought them completely under 2 sets of technologies, medical technology on one hand and agricultural technology and its fallouts on the other. How do we now take this forward in the policy debate? What does the 12th plan allow for in its documents? Because the government and the Planning Commission has had to retract on some of the things that it had planned earlier. It has made some concessions to various civil society action and to democratic demands of an electorate. And so how can we identify those and use them in the coming 5 years? There is the international debate on the MDGs, and now in 2015 they're supposed to be coming to an end, and one of which was moving people out of poverty and hunger and malnutrition. How would the discussion which is now on to set the international development agenda post-2015, how would we see inputs in that for nutrition and food security? What are the issues we'd see highlighted there? So this is how we would end the 2 days of discussion looking at these policy issues. And one issue which got centrally raised in the last workshop and is very central to what we see as crucial for developments, and the history of the past few years has also shown that, is the role of civil society and polity in moving this agenda forward and the perspectives that it will take.